All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back with Yogi Waylon, a good friend.
Yogi.
Today, he wants to talk about Sampradayas and Parampara, right?
Yeah, Sampradaya, Parampara, Guru lineage. As we say in English. Yes.
All right, so there you go.
Important.
Start it off.
So, the reason I brought it up is because our last talk, some people asked some questions. Because I said that I come from Rudra Parampara and that you come from Brahma's Parampara. This is correct?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's a generous assessment, but yeah, it's basically
Gen-
correct.
It's very generous on both of our parts, actually.
Yeah.
Probably we're from broken lineages, you know, because even even though the parampara means, of course, the continuous lineage, passing from one to another, to another, to another, to another. Even though that's what we say all of us are part of, who are initiated from our Guru Diksha, our Diksha Guru. Even though we say this, still, I'm sure, in the last thousands and thousands of years, since the Kali Yuga and whatever, these traditions have been changed, modified, or broken in some way. Okay? What would you say about this?
I would say that it's useful to probably understand the meaning of the words like Parampara, Sampradaya, and some of the other words that are related with it, because I think that people have a magical attitude towards it, like an abracadabra attitude, where they think that it's like an electric current or something. And
Yes.
some people have actually described it like using this analogy that it's an electric current. So if the wire is snapped somewhere along the way, the current will not reach the destination. So they get very into like some minute detail about, who was the disciple of who and how does it connect, and it's kind of what you're transmitting is not electricity but spiritual knowledge content. You're transmitting is consciousness. You don't actually need a physical wire or like physical connection between things contiguously in time for this message to transmit successfully. So I think it may be good to look at to demystify some of this by maybe by starting with the words themselves.
Excellent, excellent. When you talk about the magical current, I remember many people saying that when you do pranam to your guru's feet, that it's like the north pole of the magnet touching the south pole, and this is the way for a magnet to transfer its energy. Lots of, abstract thoughts like this. But again, it is like about gyan, knowledge. And so even in the modern age, maybe we can be doing these kind of things over the online like we're doing now. Eh?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
yeah,
demystify the words. So we start with what? Parampara?
sure. That's very interesting. Parampara literally means param means up or higher, and para means down.
Yeah,
So the term just means up, down.
yeah. Pass down.
It doesn't mean lineage. It doesn't mean succession. It doesn't mean anything like that. Those are implications that derive from it. So in Tattva Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami explains his concept of what this up down thing is.
Hmm.
And his concept is that his the Vedic knowledge originates in Vishnu and originally gets the original disciple or recipient of it is Brahma.
Right.
So that's like
Suffice.
the ideal
Suffice.
for a guru disciple for Vedic knowledge. His concept of parampara is the way that it went param from Vishnu to para Brahma.
Mm.
It's like from the master to the student, from the param also means the thing that you're dependent on, and the para means the thing which is dependent.
Hmm.
So the thing that it goes from like the master to the dependent, the way that it goes, that can continue to go
Hmm.
because by it going to Brahma, then Brahma now has it.
Mm.
So now he can fulfill the same role that Vishnu does.
Right.
So then he can pass the knowledge to certain people, and he does, and then they pass the knowledge, and they work on it, and they pass it to certain people also. And this is how he says the information which was transmitted from Vishnu to Brahma is now available throughout the world to everybody by this system called parampara.
Mm. Correct. And If I remember correctly, is there four or five main lineages from Vishnu? Because I thought
So those are called
one of the
sampradayas. Yeah,
those are Sampradaya. So one
yeah,
was Rudra, one was Brahma, one was Shri, and one was Sanat Kumar.
yeah. I think so.
Correct? Maybe there's a Saraswati line there too.
Maybe there's a Saraswati. Maybe there is.
Yeah, I seem to remember there's an optional fifth one. So from top to down, and it's interesting too in English how we say we're standing on the shoulders of giants. We're going from the bottom up,
Yeah,
right? Interesting.
yeah. That's also a basic thing too, which is in the basic Vedic paradigms to knowledge. Is one is called aroha,
Right.
and the other is avaroha. So if your approach to knowledge is aroha, then you start with basic things like your observations,
Mhm.
and you build them up. So like you try to go up higher with your knowledge. If you if your approach is avaroha, then you seek the knowledge and it comes to you. You know, like so for example, you might seek an excellent tennis player
Hmm.
and then have that person explain to you how to play tennis. That's aroha,
Show you by example.
rather than you watching the tennis players and figuring out what their stance is and how they do it. That's coming up.
Yeah,
So basically, science
correct.
and empiricism. Well, science is too generic a term, but basically, empirical science is going up,
Yes.
and most of the educational system, not like it's just for mysticism or anything, but most of the educational system, as well as spiritualists, the knowledge comes down.
From on
But again, that's
high.
like parampara.
Yes. Correct. Correct. More down, down. So yeah, this is the gyan, the passing of the knowledge, right? And usually it involves the Guru Diksha, which is like initiation into the Parampara,
Yeah,
correct?
which is also so highly mystified. You know, it's so abracadabraized. Did you get the diksha? Did the guru whisper the magic words into your ear? Did they put it in the correct ear? Because if they put it in the left ear, then you're screwed.
Yes.
If they, did your guru get this magic potency from his? Of course, it's always his, but it could be his or her guru. That's also abracadabra. Like, what is diksha? It's also Jiva Goswami and Rupa Goswami. They explained it so really clearly too. Should I
Hmm.
share that?
Please
So
continue.
they say Krishna Dikshadi Shikshana.
Hmm.
They say the first steps in sadhana is you get this thing called diksha so that you can do this thing called shiksha.
Hmm.
So what it means is that you establish a connection with a master so that you can get instruction from the master.
Yes.
This is what diksha is. For example, in Japan we have nyugakushiki. Nyugakushiki, right? That's diksha. Literally, that's diksha. That's what it is. The first day of school.
Yes.
So, like when you go in, you get your teacher, you get your textbooks, or like in America, I remember when we got the letter from the university. You have been accepted to California Polytechnic University. Yay, yippee! That's my diksha. That's literally what diksha is. When there's an establishment of a relationship between the student and the teacher. And the third thing that the Rupa and Jiva say is that they have to have a curriculum. After Guru Diksha and Shiksha is based on there being a curriculum, they're not just riffing.
Mhm.
The teachers aren't just riffing; they have a curriculum, which is the Veda.
Yes. Yes.
So they have to know the Veda. But the thing about Diksha is that it's not mystical. It's not abracadabra. It's you establish a relationship with the person who's going to teach you. So, like going back again to that basic thing, like if you want to learn tennis and you happen to meet Serena Williams, if you get you're not going to learn tennis just because you met Serena Williams. But if you get her to say, "All right, I'll teach you," that's your diksha. So in spiritual stuff, it's a little bit heavy because like that's a big responsibility. Like you want me to teach you how to like change your entire existence? I'm not going to say yes very easy to that because it's a huge responsibility. You're probably not going to live up to your part of the bargain. It's going to be hard even for me to live up to my side of the bargain. Let's be serious about this, you know? But
Yeah,
it
well,
is
that's why
yes,
traditionally,
yes.
traditionally the master would ask the student to like, clean my floor for a year or 2 years first, right?
Yeah.
Sit outside my room. At least in my lineage, they talk about that. Uh, You'd have to sit first outside the door, petition the teacher continuously for a set amount of time, and then he gives you a broom, and you have to clean up his house continuously for a set amount of time. Then after a while, you might get a little teaching, and then maybe one asana, maybe one kriya, one pranayama, and then one little piece of a mantra, a bija mantra. And you have to repeat all of these things and do them continuously for a few years before moving and expanding the practice.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I see two interesting things in that. One one interesting thing is kind of obvious. One is like you test this person.
Mhm.
Like, all right, you want to learn stuff from me. How serious are you? It's not going to be easy to learn. Are you serious or not? So you test them. How much do you want this? That's kind of obvious. But the thing that's a little bit more interesting is what the guy sitting on the other side of the door for 6 hours, or what the guy who's been handed a broom doesn't usually realize is that the most important part of the lesson of the education that they'll get from the guru is happening right there. They're
Right.
thinking they're in preparation and they're waiting for something to happen in the future, but that this you are getting the lesson right there.
Yeah, exactly. Wax on, wax off, right?
Yeah.
Same idea. Same idea. So exactly. Clean up, have patience.
Be
Very
no,
basic lesson.
like you have to be humble, you have to be submissive, you have to be wanting and open, receptive and malleable. Otherwise, how are you going to be a student? How are you going to be teach? So that's like even that is the first part of the lesson.
Right.
Anyway,
There you go. No, that's correct. And then also in these paramparas, traditionally it was only one guru and one disciple.
is it true? Not really.
Well, from at least in Rudra's line, in Shiva's line, he started, and next was Matsyendranath, and then next was Gorakshanath, and the next was Svatmarma, and that went down until Kashyapa, I think. When Kashyapa had many, many kids, the Maruts, when he had all of his sons, then it started expanding outward and becoming more and more and more and more and more.
Uh,
But traditionally, that's how it originated. And same with Vishnu to Brahma is like 1 to 1.
there's Vishnu to Brahma 1 to 1, and then Brahma teaches 7 people.
7 people. Oh,
Yeah,
the Saptarishi.
and then you go.
Saptarishi.
Yeah, and also I think it's interesting in the various mantras that are not mantras, but like sayings or whatever that are specific to my kind of circles. One of them is, oh my God, how did it slip out of my mind? Guru. Oh my God, Vandeham Shri Guru.
Avanteham Sri
No,
Guru
no,
Sri
that's not it.
Guru Kamalam. No?
You see, I haven't been doing this.
Panchakalpa
Someone
Tarubayacha.
has to slap me.
Kripasinduya Ivacha.
Yeah, no, 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 that's it. Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamalam, Shri Guru and Vaishnavam. That was it.
Right.
So if you look at that line, Vandeham Shri Guru,
Sri
right?
Guru.
That's
Yeah.
pretty obvious. Most people that don't even know Sanskrit know what that means. I respect my Guru. Vandeham Shri Guru, Shri Yuta Padakamalam. I respect the feet of my Guru.
Feet. Yes. Yes.
Not because there's not, I mean, the magnetic pole thing is really beautiful, actually, and it's visual and it's compelling and it's allegorical, but the actual fact is that it means you're very humble.
Yeah. It means you're following in the footsteps.
Yeah, and the lowest thing of the person is important. Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakam Sri Gurun Vaishnavanscha. So the word guru there's there twice, and one time it's singular, and then the second time it's plural.
All of the Vaishnavas.
So the concept of that there's my guru is also kind of flawed.
No, it's true. That's correct.
Yeah, like
Yes.
what's the big deal if your guru is named John and my guru is named Jack or Jill? Both of these gurus should be teaching from the curriculum,
Hmm.
which is the Veda. So they both should be saying the same thing. Maybe they're teaching it differently, or maybe you're a different student, so they're giving you different angle on it. But there really should not be that much difference between two genuine
Correct.
masters, right?
Yeah, in the same way that a scientist will study from into science, and this is many different teachers, and that's why Krishnam Vande Jagat Guru Sri, right?
Hmm.
Krishna is the guru of the entire universe, and since Krishna is in every part and particle of the universe, actually the guru is everywhere, eh,
Yeah.
in the actual teaching. So it's true. So that was what I was talking about. How you cross pollinating maybe, or cross training. Uh, Sometimes being too stuck to a lineage maybe is a limitation to your spiritual progress, or to your own understanding, your own
Yeah.
scientific awakening. Right?
But just like you mentioned now, the like, the traditional stories of gurus and disciples, the guru will say, well, sweep this, get the firewood, you know, go collect some donations, sit there for 3 hours and wait. Those kind of menial things. Also, typically a guru will say, sit here and listen to me. What are you doing going over there listening to those people?
Mm.
Like
Yes.
they will do that, and there's a very valid reason for that, which is not about sectarianism, or it's not that this guru is in competition with the other gurus. It's that, who's your teacher, bro? People just think that like teaching is easy. Teaching is so difficult. The teacher has to get to know the student,
That's very hard. Yeah.
to know what the student does right and does wrong, and to know the persistent misconceptions that the student has, to be able to know how to explain something which is complex.
Mm.
So if you're sitting with one teacher and the teacher is getting to know you and teaching you in a certain way, and then you go and listen to somebody else, they have no idea who you are. They're talking to you the same way that they talk to their people.
Mm.
So you're going to get all these mixed up ideas come back to your teacher with this new stew, like kitchery in your head about all these ideas. And then the guru's going to have to waste his time unraveling all that stuff and unteaching all this mistake that you learned. So that's the other issue, is like, when you're novice, I find this in every discipline, not even disciplines, just like even the way people play video games. When you're novice, you should be novice, and you should act like a novice, which means you should be really simple. You should be really faithful. You should ask basic questions. You should try to understand things in a basic way. You should stick with your teacher and not try to, compare your teacher. What you do, like before you get accepted into California Polytechnic University, you check out all the universities, right?
Mm.
And then you apply to the ones that you like and the one that accepts you. After you get accepted to that university, do I start going out to like Wisconsin and going to Wisconsin Tech or something? I'm accepted at California Polytechnic. I stay at California Polytechnic. Later on, when I get out of there and I get PhD and everything, I can go everywhere and make sense of everything. But in the beginning, it's actually really important to stick with not just with your your particular Sampradaya, but also with your specific guru. Just stick with it.
Mm. Keep up. Keep up. It's very, yeah. Well, that's dedication, and also even for me doing our yoga school, you are correct. It's a big job trying to identify, because I can give general teachings, but when you identify the student's temperament, the different kind of sadakas, ne? We have like the adimatra sadaka, like the different levels to the supreme one, and so you have to apply different teachings, different yogas for each one. This one's good for this guy. This person here has a great memory. They can recite well. Okay, mantra yoga, great for this person. This person is not so intelligent, but very physically capable. More karma yoga, more asanas, very good. Like this. Correct. So each one of us is different, has great variation, just like we talked about last time, the different ashramas and the different temperaments, the different castes. So each one of us has our own different position. And so that's the guru's job. And that's a hard job. And that's why at the beginning, they say before the Diksha, the student tests the guru, but then after, the guru tests the student.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean by like, before you get accepted at a university, you check out all the universities. You really should use your intellect and test them all out. Is this university really good? Is it really good for me?
It's really hard on the spiritual path too, because it's so mystical. It has like a heavier weight almost, and then it's like almost like you're cursed with bad luck, or people will curse you, right? And then that weighs on your heart, and then so some people feel almost obliged or obligated, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think this is especially true with bhakti.
I mean, all of them. I mean,
The reason why I think it's especially true with bhakti is because bhakti is your ultimate objective is feelings, right?
yeah.
So when you're hurting other people's feelings, it's the worst. It has the worst repercussions if you're on the bhakti path. So, for example, let's say if you're analyzing all the different universities before you accept your university, well, but if you're like abusive, not abusive, but like cantankerous or punkish, and you go to like such and such university, and you're like, you guys suck.
Yeah.
You're not for me. F off. Well, okay, your evaluation was fine. That university is substandard or not good for you, whatever. But, if you actually insult people, it has a repercussion, which is particularly devastating to bhakti because it's all about feelings and how people feel towards you and how you feel towards people.
And that's, I mean, that's like, no matter what you do, someone's feelings are gonna get hurt, right?
Yeah.
Even if you do the absolute best thing for the situation, someone's gonna have a problem with it.
Yeah. I actually have personal realization of that. But I think as my realization of being in that situation is as long as I did my best. Like some
Mm,
people, you can't help but hurt their feelings because their ego
of course.
is so delicate. But as long as we try our best not to be insulting or, injurious towards others, then we are not getting that thing called aparat,
Mm,
which is where the heart gets callous and difficult to feel things,
mhm.
difficult to feel positive things, easy to feel negative things.
I think in English we say jaded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Calloused heart. Yes, for sure. And yeah, that's really, it's important to stay sensitive like this. But yeah, some people are overly sensitive, and so
Want to
it's
talk about
important.
Sampradaya?
Let's talk about Sampradaya. These are the traditions of the lineage, no?
Yes, exactly. Really well said. Yeah, I think that's what a Sampradaya basically is just like here's a group of paramparas that are kind of like linked together. What the word actually means is really interesting too. Daya is to give.
Hmm.
Pradaya is forgiving something, and some means like all together. So
Altogether.
it's like where people come together to give
Hmm.
is the Sampradaya. And there's interesting related terms to this. Amongst Gaudiya Vaishnavas, there's also a term called Pranali,
Hmm.
which is used interchangeably with the way that many people use Parampara or also Sampradaya. And Pranali means canal.
Hmm.
So it's like a river or a canal, or it's just so Sampradaya really is just like the tradition or the Sangha around a particular Parampara string.
Hmm.
So, for example, the Brahma Gaudiya, the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya
So, yeah.
is a particular strand of Parampara that went back. Or, no, it's not a particular strand. It's a set. It's a bunch of related paramparas going back through these general checkpoints. You know, Gaudiya, which is Chaitanya, Madhva, Madhvacharya, Brahma.
Hmm.
So, or you may have Rudra, et cetera, Sampradayas. What it really means is that your access to the parampara was through this kind of filigree of networks that are generally going through these checkpoints of how they got back up to the Vedas.
Right, right, right. Yeah. And the channel means it has the banks, right? Keeping
Yeah.
it all in line. Yeah. The guiding and directing. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Uh, it's interesting too when I think about this idea because the tradition of my guru, they got to the point where they accept, like, they didn't just stick to the Vedic tradition. So this happened sometime after I can't remember. But anyway, at a certain point, they started accepting that bhakti, like bhakti in the form of any religious belief, any bhakti for God, anyone, so any religion, whether it be Christianity or Islam or whatever, they all have, like, of course, Christianity has their own parampara. Right? Islam has their own parampara. It's their own traditions that they pass down, sampradayas. And at a certain point, I guess if you have real bhakti, like you said before, Vaishnavas, you told me before, Vaishnavas do not ever cut apart. We always try to unite. We want to unite everyone together. We don't want to differentiate or dissect. Yoga is about reuniting, as such is the same meaning as religion. So at a certain point, if the bhakti in one's heart, I guess, becomes soft enough, you can resonate with anybody, any religion, any culture, any body, even if from another planet. If you have the same love for Krishna, for God, for the one, like this, eh? What do you think about this?
Very nice. Yeah.
Very nice, eh?
That's
So
kind
this
of
is
what I was
unified.
trying to say before is like when you're a novice, you don't have that. When you're a novice, you don't have that. And you can't tell the difference between chocolate that's inside a box shaped like a heart and chocolate that's inside a box shaped like a square, because all that you see is the box
Yeah,
because your perception hasn't you haven't opened the box yet. You're still just dealing with the initials of the thing. But after you get somewhere, the further that you get with spirituality, the more that you see how everything has the same root to it. Everything that exists has the same root. So the more that the less that you start to see this thing in this box is really different than that thing in that other box over there. That doesn't mean that you don't see mistakes that people make. You
of course.
definitely don't see a serial killer in the same box as you see a humanitarian worker. They're in different boxes. It's not that the boxes are irrelevant. The boxes are relevant because in the world we interact through the boxes.
Well,
The
for
boxes
sure.
are relevant, but they're not essential. Right? They're not essentially what the things are. So
Yeah,
when
well,
it
you
comes to
have,
Sampradaya, you can see like it's important to say like this Sampradaya teaches it this way. It's
mm,
not the same as that Sampradaya which teaches it that way, but the essence of both of them is rooted here in this concept.
for sure. For sure. That's why even in the Vedas, I've seen, like, I've read a lot of Vedas, and then you can find the same story retold dozens of different ways. Eh? But the essence is still there. The details are a little different. And like you talk about chocolate again, you have your pure chocolate, and then you have like your American chocolate, which has got lots of chemicals and other stuff inside of it. you know, so yeah, it's important to be able to recognize, read the wrapping, see the ingredients of the chocolate, and understand. Okay, this is very pure. This is a little bit diluted, and then
Mm,
this is just complete garbage. But it's still chocolate somewhere in there
yeah, for different consumers.
for different consumers. Exactly.
The Vedas, like they're so, and this is the other another I think thing that people don't appreciate about the Vedas. The Vedas are so pluralistic.
Absolutely.
So they're so open, really, to everybody being an individual, and they're so pluralistic that they're willing to sell diluted chocolate
Hmm.
to people that don't have that much money or to people that don't give a damn about the quality of the chocolate. They're willing to do that because they just want these people to get the chocolate. Just at least, okay, you're only getting 2% chocolate, but you're getting 2% of the chocolate. That'll help you in the future. But so they have these things. They range from recommending people to do ceremonies for fertilization and ceremonies for gaining power so that you can defeat your enemies. They range from these really basic, but animalistically materialistic things to these super advanced, like meditation techniques and information about things which are, fundamentally beyond sensory perception. And it's because they realize there's all these different kinds of people who can digest things differently.
Yeah, yeah, it's really important. Yeah, it is important because there are many people, so many different kinds of people,
Yeah.
and yeah, like I realized that a long time ago when I was doing my own like just asana teachings, just straight up asana teachings, is that I got to a certain level of proficiency, but if I taught that level of proficiency, I have no students. Nobody can come and practice with me at this level. So, but the more simple you make it, if you make it very, very, very simple, the people who are more advanced, they don't like it so much, but they still like it. but they still like it because they can do it and they can enjoy it. But of course, you make it very very simple so that anybody can come, any body type. Then more people will come, and then more people get benefit from it. Because the whole point is not the elaboration. The abstract elaboration is not so important. You're correct. Even 2% chocolate, if they can get that little tiny bit, that little bit can grow inside of them, and they can get a taste for something more.
Hmm.
Exactly. It's important. Wow. So this is nice. This is a good conversation. I'm enjoying
Me
this.
too. Me too. I have these ideas going through my head too. Other topics. I think we maybe haven't touched on the thing that you mentioned in the beginning of like cross pollination. Or what if I start? What if I start learning? Like, what if I grow up in a family and I get initiated by some? I get a diksha for doing rituals, but then
Hmm.
later on in my life, I go to Varanasi and I meet these people that are doing gyan, and they're not doing rituals, they're doing meditation. And should I say no? I'm in this ritualistic parampara. I can't hear you guys.
Oh
Like
yeah, exactly. Well, this is why I have this tilak, ne? This is
yes,
not part of my Guru Parampara at all. But I feel very attracted as I study more and I expand my own practice and expand my own teachings more and more. I became immediately attracted to having tilak in the morning. I'm doing it early morning. I wake up very early. I do my sadhana. I do my practice with my students, and then I do this very early, first thing, and it's so and a great addition. And my tradition never had like this, actually, because sometimes they do the dot, and then sometimes I would see sometimes he would have the three lines. Né? This is the Shaivite style, the three lines. I was never really very much attracted to the three lines. So anyway, I
I don't
didn't.
know. Well, I must have something from my previous life because I have naturally three
Well, yeah,
lines,
me too. Well, I
and then
have like
also I
a
have naturally two.
yeah, that's true. We have both. Yeah,
The benefits
I
of
have a
scrunching
dozen though.
your eyes all the time, all day long, being a
That's
pessimist.
true.
You get
That's true.
natural tilaks.
National T-Lex. But I really enjoy the T-Lex very much, and it's been a really like the smell and the doing of it with the chanting, and it makes me softens my heart in the early morning, especially after the cold shower. The heart gets a little bit like oh, so it's a nice thing to do, and it puts you in the mood of practice, in the mood of everything. And so if I didn't cross pollinate myself, if I never went off and learned different things, these kind of different moods would never have been introduced into my own life, into my own practice. And in that way, I would have been limited. I know. Only because I added additional things and I keep on studying and keep on learning, only because of this, my own sadhana, my own life, everything gets more rich, more beautiful. And I really think that it's important. Like a bee, a bee doesn't just stick to one flower. Of course, it will, but it will go all over the place, gather many, many pollens, and then make the best honey is that made
Mm.
that way. Ne? Krishna is also the bee, and we are the flowers. No.
Yeah, I think this. So I think that there's a valid point there, and when that the student will evolve,
Hmm.
and it's not necessarily that you're abandoning one guru by going to the next topic. What you learn from Guru A about X, then you might learn something from Guru B about Y. So that's not a problem. That's not problematic. But I wonder, it may be problematic if, like we said before, it may be problematic if you're trying to learn from Guru A and Guru B about X.
Hmm.
And it actually depends upon, as we spoke about yesterday, not last time, the quality or the varna of the person.
Hmm.
If you're very Brahminical or Sattvic, which is basically the same thing, then it's very easy for you to unwrap packages
Hmm.
and see, find the essence that's within all the different packages, so you don't get very troubled
Hmm.
by the differences between two teachers on one subject. But if you're more rajasic or tamasic, you can't deal with that. It's just gonna flip you out.
Hmm.
The other thing I thought was interesting is I think there's two extremes that people deal with guru and parampara with. One is like this: they either go to this extreme of it's a magical mystery tour, and we have to get Shakti pot. Like, hit me with the peacock, baby. Hit me one more time with the peacock, and I'll get enlightenment. And I'll get what the guru. I'll get all the knowledge from the guru by sleeping on this book, like Edgar Casey, or um,
Learning by osmosis. Ne?
yeah, like they either go to that extreme where it's like they magicianify the guru,
Hmm.
or they go to the other extreme where they say this guru is it's bogus. What is this garbage? You don't need this person. Just like, what are you? Are you not able to think for yourself? You don't need a
Yeah, those
guru.
are
Just look, read the Vedas. Even if they're into the Vedas, they'll just say, just read the Vedas. What do you need the guru for? Or they'll say, that dude that lived 65,000 years ago, that guy's my guru. Kapila is my guru, or like, Kashyapa is my guru. So that's
this is
another topic, I think.
isn't that called Ritvik? Isn't that called Ritvik?
Ritvik
Something like
is a person who does something for somebody else. So
that.
in Vedic rituals, Ritviks are very important because the Yajamana, or the person who's actually doing the ritual, doesn't have the qualification to do the ritual actually.
Hmm.
Usually they're not actually physically or intellectually capable to do the ritual. So what they do is they invest to Ritviks.
Hmm.
The Ritviks carry out the ritual on the behalf of the Yajamana.
Hmm.
So the Ritvik is the priest that's doing the ritual, not for themselves, for this person, for this like sponsor. Um, in modern circles, they came like in ISKCON, there's a branch where they come to use the term Ritvik, meaning like a person that will accept you into the guru's student community, but it's not the guru. Like, in other words, a person will give you Diksha, but it's not, you don't directly get the Diksha from that person, you get it from somebody else. And so that after the founder of ISKCON, Prabhupada, died, there came up a theory like the people now will give Diksha on behalf of Prabhupada.
Hmm.
So, and then they call themselves Ritviks.
Ah, okay. Interesting. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So those extremes are no good. The guru is important. Why is guru important? In the same
Yeah.
way that our parents are important. They teach us so much at the beginning, right? The first guru is mama and papa. Well, mama is first guru technically, and papa's number two, right?
Why are they important? Why is the parents important?
Well, because they teach you your culture, they teach you how to eat and clean, they teach you your basic things.
Yeah.
Basic.
But can I ask you a question? I agree with you, but I just want to get this point really clear. What if my mom and dad live in a different country than me?
Hmm. Well, there's must be as a baby though, as a little
Yeah, as a
one.
baby, when I really need them.
Yeah, well, someone must be there for a baby because if there's no one there for a baby dies, right? So whoever takes the position of the mother or father, maybe it's a surrogate. We can call them the guru then, because the one who's giving the basic instructions of life, to
Yeah.
care and provide. Because a baby who's not touched, like what's Louis the 15th did an experiment. He wanted to find out the natural language of the people. So he took 26 or 27 different babies. He put them each in 27 different rooms with nobody touching them. They all died. So
You
horrible,
need to do
horrible
an
experiment.
experiment to realize that would happen.
Yeah, well, he was trying. He's of some French royalty. There's a reason why the guillotine came. So the the someone needs to be there to instruct the baby up, in some form or another,
Yeah.
right?
Let's say I'm 6 years old.
Okay.
How am I going to do?
How are you gonna do? You're gonna be a wild child if you're
I
6 years
am,
old.
aren't I? Even though I have parents and maybe they even write me letters, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, you know, some people will be exceptional. Okay, the few people will be exceptional, and then they'll be able to very easily see and mimic and understand and develop themselves. But most of us, if maybe 99% of us, it's not going to work.
Yeah. I bet you even the exceptional people will take somebody else as a parent figure
Exactly. Yeah.
in their life. They'll probably take a teacher, their first grade teacher or something, or a neighbor or an uncle or somebody as the parent figure.
I often take this example. There is one village in Turkey, and this is still there. There's a village in Turkey where the people don't walk upright. They walk around on all fours. hands and feet.
Really?
Because for most of the history of this place, they never saw anybody walking up upright like this. So they all developed the culture of walking on their fours. So of course, if we don't have darshan, if we can't see someone doing something, at least having a direct vision of it, then we're not going to be able to learn or develop anything.
Yeah.
So that village is a perfect example. You can look them up. They do it. They walk around all fours. Of course, it's getting less and less because people are pressuring them to stand up like normal people.
I wonder if they have
But
shoes for their hands.
I can't remember. I was amazed when I learned about that. I was like,
It's
wow, this
pretty.
is. But it verified to me this whole guru thing is that we need to have darshan. We need to understand because, before globalism, people growing up in South America, they weren't speaking Sanskrit or Hindi. You need to have people speaking the language around you to learn the language. You need to learn the culture directly from someone somehow.
Yeah.
It's not like I was born in Canada and automatically I start speaking Chinese without any Chinese exposure. I mean, unless I have some kind of past life knowledge coming to me,
Right. So
which
my
not
the thing that I think that thing that we did with the parents really illustrates is the teacher is you need to have intimate contact with the teacher.
Mhm. Yes.
Otherwise, not only do you not see them, but they don't see you, and they don't know how to guide you well. So it's not necessarily that the intimacy is not physical. With a teacher, the intimacy is not physical. With the teacher, the intimacy is behavioral and ideological, like how much they see how your intellect works and how your behavior works. But or maybe depending on what it is, or maybe it's physical in physical yoga, but and it's not sexually physical, not that kind of intimacy. But the intimacy that you have to actually be immediate with the teacher. So the concept of like I don't need a guru because there's this great philosopher from 2000 years ago and he wrote a book and I can just read that. You can definitely get a lot of knowledge and everything from reading a book from a guy 20,000 years ago, but it's on a whole different level than what we're talking about from what you get from Parampara. What you get from Parampara is the Param becomes the Para. The consciousness, the perception, the world, the universe of the master becomes the consciousness and perception and universe of the student. It's not just that you get some new information or you get a cool idea or and you get inspired. So that kind of transformation of consciousness is not really possible without a lot of serious work and a lot of direct contact with a person who sees your mistakes, you know, and who you actually have to try to show your performance to.
Mhm.
Otherwise, you can't get evaluated.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to bring up this topic is recently my Diksha guru he left his body. He died, and I didn't know firsthand, but I do my practice every day. I do my meditation every day, and I started getting like a month and a half ago. I started getting really really strong feelings about him. I didn't know what was going on. And so finally, after some time, I inquired to some friend who still had contact. And I was like, "What's up? What's up with him?" And he said he died. And so I was, I was like, "Wow, there really was some kind of intimate, deep connection. A long time. I spent a long time with him. I learned a lot. But it was clearly something transcendental because I had no direct contact. I had no idea. I haven't talked to them. Haven't been involved in a long time. And so I felt really strong about this lineage thing. And then so when you talked about that circuit, there's something to that circuit also. Even though we say it's like kind of, whatever, metaphysical hoopla, there's something to that circuit too. The Shaktipad is something that is tangible. Yeah.
Well, of course, right? If you're learning from a person, then your mind is becoming intertwined with the person.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then even if there's not physical proximity, you know what's going on with the person. That's what I mean. That's what the need for intimacy is.
Hmm.
Otherwise, how can you get your minds to merge? And if you don't get your minds to merge, then how do you have any kind of deep connection? The guru and the disciple, it's the deepest thing. People will think like it's just preparatory or something. It's the deepest thing.
Yeah, it is.
People also misuse it so much. People abuse the guru's disciple thing so much they misused and they abuse the parampara so much also. They use it it's actually just one of the most disgusting things in the world. Like I would just rather see a person. I prefer to just hang out with ordinary people most of the time than to hang out with spiritualists who misuse the spirituality,
Hmm.
because it gives me a sense that I don't want to get involved in this spirituality stuff because it's disgusting. So, like for example, the basically what everybody's trying to do is just gratify. We are all trying to gratify our egos. It's the most important thing to us, and that's kind of fine when it's like obvious, when it's open and honest and just obvious, like kids. But when it's veiled in like, my guru is better than your guru, my parampara is better than your parampara, my bhajan is better than your bhajan, my sadhana is better than your sadhana, then it just becomes like, when, like, if coronavirus is in a petri dish, it's fine, just keep it in the petri dish. But when coronavirus comes out to my healthy cells, I don't like that. So like when ahankar and ego is just by itself in the world, that's even kind of humorous to watch it and to play
Standard.
with it. But when it comes into the spiritual circles, it's so disheartening.
Yeah, well, that's also because we value. I feel the same way. It's because we value it, and we hold it up high, and then we see it being cheapened out, and like paraded around and dressed up silly. Yeah, it lets us down for sure. I get let down a lot by these kind of things. But it's kind of the standard operation. I mean, my teacher always told me there are more gurus than disciples in India. You can go around, it's like a spiritual supermarket, and nobody wants to sit and learn, nobody wants to submit. Everybody wants to teach something or share their ego.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
yeah,
I
it's
guess
just it's a symptom of
I
this.
guess we covered most of the stuff we wanted to talk about. I have one like good quote also
Yeah, yeah, bring it.
from my source. They asked this person, why are there not more real gurus?
Hmm.
Why are there so many like gurus that are not really qualified to be gurus? Why? He says because there's no real disciples.
Yeah.
So there's no market. He said you'll always have a product wherever there's a market. Because there's no market, there's no product. So
Hmm.
the real thing is like, you don't even really need to search for a guru. You just need to make yourself a disciple. And then automatically, that you being a disciple will make there be a guru in your life,
Hmm.
a bona fide guru. If you're a good disciple, if you're a like real disciple, then you'll get a genuine guru.
Yeah. I
Genuine
also
guru. It sounds so
remember.
weird too. Like it's so weird. It's so weird because it's so difficult. It's so weird because this disciple reveres the guru, but the guru doesn't really want reverence.
No.
So it's a real mess. It's
But
very,
also,
very messy.
it's interesting though because in India they usually say the guru's position is higher than God. Even that's a common held belief.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of take issue with that.
Yeah, I also take issue with this, but they always say that because and the reason my teacher used to tell me that, and the reason for that is because in the same way we need, like you said, it needs to be passed on. Uh, if you don't have if you don't have someone to teach you the idea of the pathway, then this pathway is not going to be visible to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In
So
that
in
in
some
that
ways,
sense, it makes sense, right?
so yeah. And then also there's another idea around, I can't remember if it's from Veda or not. I came across it somewhere that even if you're a sincere disciple, even a corrupted guru, you can still achieve your goal because because you're sincerely submitting.
Yeah, I think that's really true.
Yeah.
I think that's very true. But I think what will happen is the sincere disciple will manifest as a sincere guru. You might have to deal with a wrong, like if you're a sincere disciple, it's kind of questionable of how would you have wound up with an insincere guru? There must have been something wrong.
Hmm.
But if you actually are sincere, then that's some of the validity to the cross pollination or the moving from one guru to the next It's
Hmm.
because it hasn't really settled. It's not that just because you accepted, and just because you accepted to become a student at Polytechnic University, that you can't go to another university. If you realize that Cal Poly, it was stupid, you wanted to study music, why did you go to a Polytechnic University?
Hmm.
You can switch universities. You can do that. You know, it takes a little effort and you'll have to do it. You'll have to get this one university to discharge you, and you'll have to get the other university to accept you. But it's
Hmm.
not like it's impossible. In fact, it's quite reasonable, right? So I think sometimes because sincere people are sensitive to this thing of like being faithful and being sincere, they hang on to bogus gurus for a long time, hoping that they're going to reform or hoping that they're going to, or improve or something.
Hmm.
Same thing basically with marriages.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you can, sometimes if you really stick with someone, they can improve, and you really invest your
Yeah.
good effort, they can. Uh, Yeah, I don't know. This is a difficult topic to get into. You're talking about marriages and stuff,
No,
but
I didn't
it's
want to really talk about marriages, but it is
yeah,
similar
but
to like how when a spouse maybe is not ideal for you, you don't just like divorce them. You because you have fidelity, right, and you have faithfulness, so you try to make it possible for them to improve. But there's such a thing called divorce. It's where the other spouse is irreconcilable, right? Then you have divorce. There's divorce in Vedas. In the Vedas, it's a reason. It's a thing which has to happen sometimes,
yeah,
but it's not ideal, obviously.
it's ideal. Yeah, there's something to be said. I like the traditional values a lot of the ways. Like, don't try not to divorce.
Yeah,
And like, I think even Prabhupada had a funny thing. He said, I never liked my wife, and he said he wanted to get a new wife, and then his fat dad said, just stick with your wife because if you don't like your wife, it makes you can help you practice better.
yeah,
That was a funny thing. But yeah, I don't know. What I've noticed is like my relationship with my wife, it has not always been smooth, but it's getting more and more smooth as time has passed, and just sometimes you have to just stick with it and like keep going. Sometimes
yeah.
it really depends.
It's interesting too because if we carry this analogy further, a lot of times the disciple that's not feeling the connection of the parampara through the particular guru is actually, if they stick sincerely around, they'll find out that it was some problem that they were having, right? It's something wrong with how they were approaching the relationship, which also happens a lot in marriages too. Initially, we think it's the other person's fault. But after a while trying to deal with it, we realize, oh my God, it's like 80% my fault.
I think in the modern world, it's probably like 99% our fault for everybody. Like we're so externally oriented and we're so involved in our egos and our sense gratification. There's no way we can identify that we are the source of our problems. Actually, we're the source of all of our problems,
Hmm.
I would
Hey,
say.
we went for a very long time.
Yeah.
Let's try to wrap it up. So what did we want to, what was our hopes for this? We wanted to talk about parampara,
Yeah.
right? And we wanted to talk about, what
Sampradayas.
did we accomplish? We talked about, like, I think we clarified what a parampara is. It's not a tradition. It's not a lineage. It's the transformation of the student into the master.
Hmm.
And then what is
Yes.
Sampradaya? Sampradaya is like a tradition. It's a tradition of that happening.
Hmm.
And we talked about some other things like the importance of being a student, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Being a sincere disciple. Yeah, we just did a tour. We did a little bit of a circumnambulation of the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
All
good.
right, great. Well, thank you very much for spending this time with me again. Hopefully we could
Thank
do
you.
it again next week if I don't get too busy.
Yeah, let's see how it goes. If we
Let's see,
can
but
come up with a
it's like I'm handing it on your court for you. You have to come up with the topics.
Yeah, you want me to come with the topics?
Yeah, you
Okay,
come up with the interesting
I'll.
topics.
Okay, okay.
Okay, sir.
No problem.
Thank you very much.
Shri Hare
Thank you, everybody,
Krishna.
for joining us.
Have a good day.